Public Service and Administration Minister Ayanda Dlodlo says compulsory lifestyle audits against employees are being carried out across the public sector. Now, since they were introduced in April last year, the department has been hard at work, she says, at ensuring compliance. Public service employees are required to declare all their financial interests on an electronic disclosure system. An investigation could then follow if their lifestyles don't match up with their incomes. So for more on the story now, we're joined by Commissioner at the Public Service Commission, Dr. Somadoda Fikeni, who joined us via video link this morning. Dr. Fikeni, it's great to speak to you this morning, and it's good news for the fight against corruption to know that these lifestyle audits, they began last year, that they're now sort of being intensified.
It is indeed good news because the fight against corruption, as every other investigation or report has indicated, needs every other tool in the toolbox, and the lifestyle audit has always been one of the most potent tools, because very often you see the lifestyle, you see the property acquisition by an individual which simply does not match their own income or their immediate spouses or partners and so forth. So that in itself will be an add-on, a very important add-on into the fight against corruption.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a bit of a giggle at one of the lines in the release by the Public Service Minister yesterday. She says, lifestyle audits target those expensive brand-wearing public servants who clearly live beyond their means. I'm sure it's not as simple as looking at what you're wearing.
It is not as simple as just looking at what you're wearing, but it is the total audit of a lifestyle, from properties to the cars you drive, and also, of course, the things you wear sometimes can be extraordinary in a sense. But I do think that a sum total of audit of a person's lifestyle is what was meant. Rather than just what the bag one is carrying. And that in itself, I think, is used not just in South Africa but elsewhere. But for it to be effective, it would need collaboration between government, institutions supporting democracy, like Chapter 9, Chapter 10, Chapter 13 institutions, as well as the private sector, because the banking industry is one of those which should come on board.
Yeah. So there's this e-disclosure system that various departments are using to assist them in doing these lifestyle audits. So if I fall under the public service, what kind of information am I now required to disclose about my sources of income?
Very simply to indicate what other sources of income are, what gifts are coming your way, and so on, what properties you have. And that in itself becomes the basis of saying you earn so much, and this is what you have. Perhaps you have a farm where you could be selling cows or livestock. Then one matches all other things you have. You can't then go on at a certain level, or any level for that matter, and say, I have 15 properties that I've acquired in the last few years. So that in itself, I think, is the kind of declaration you have.
Yeah. Vehicles, property, sponsorships I find to be quite an interesting subcategory. It talks about disclosing the source and description of direct financial sponsorship or assistance, the relationship between the sponsor and the employee. There's another subheading here that says remunerated work outside of the employee's employment in a particular department. I mean, in terms of the issue of sponsorships, this is a bit of a grey area, isn't it?
It is a grey area, but as you might have seen, whether it's the Zondo Commission or many other commissions, whistleblowers, media reports, that now people channel and try to clean dirty money through sponsorship. You suddenly have this sponsor that you can't explain, who gives you all the rented cars, the car, who gives you their own property to use, and a holiday abroad to Hawaii, Waikiki Beach, somewhere. So that in itself is the kind of sponsorship. It is just not your ordinary scholarship you get or something that you can explain. Remember that there'll also be an opportunity to explain that the reason I'm getting this sponsorship to study in this place or to do ABCDE, which is out of the norm, is you're not your normal NSFAS or any other thing. It's something that you can explain, and then the lifestyle audit verification will indicate whether this is genuine or not, or you're not getting kickbacks for some work that you have channeled to that company.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the issue of whistleblowers, because, you know, if I'm in a government department, for example, and I do have information about a fellow employee, will I be protected in making those disclosures?
Certainly. In fact, the country as a whole, after the unfortunate incident of the brutal killing of a whistleblower, and one whistleblower having to, leave the country to stay abroad, there is a move now to, strengthen the protection of the whistleblowers to make sure that when you, blow the whistle, you are protected and there is no harm to you. And for that matter, the law enforcement can even make sure that they put extraordinary layer of protection to you.
And then, Dr. Fikeni, if indeed it does turn out that my lifestyle does not match up with the kind of income I'm getting, what are the steps that are to be, what happens next?
Well, the first one is within the unit or the department you are in, because you will have, these discrepancies. But the next one is the law enforcement to take its course to establish what is happening there. And this lifestyle audit, policy is to allow for people to get into investigating those discrepancies without a person saying, this is an intrusion into my space.
All right. Dr. Somadoda Fikeni is a Public Service Commission Commissioner joining us here as we continue to unpack this issue of lifestyle audits, which the Minister, Ayanda Dlodlo, says will be gaining traction in the weeks to come.